Hi, and thanks for coming to our monthly meeting of Livermore Indivisible. My name is Keith Hatchek, and I'm a member of the steering committee. And I'm really excited for the two topics that we're going to be learning about today. We're going to hear from someone talking about how we can beautify our environment. And then we're going to hear about the wonderful work being done by Moms Demand Action. And I'll say more about that when I introduce our speaker. So I'm going to ask my colleague, Karen Jefferson, to come up and introduce Andy Wang, who is our first presenter.
Okay, I don't know about you, but there's been times in the last few weeks, especially after Thursday, that all I really wanted to do was get into bed and pull the covers over my head. And it actually made me question whether the individual efforts that I've been making are really worth it and going to make a difference. So if any of you have had these thoughts, I think that fortunately today you're going to dispel them, because I think we have two wonderful speakers who have really done an amazing job of showing what individual actions can improve the world, or how individual actions can improve the world. Our first speaker is Andy Wang, and he is literally beautifying and cleaning up the Bay Area. Andy is an electrical engineer from Lawrence Livermore National Laboratories, and in his spare time has been going around various counties cleaning up illegal dumping and littering sites. I have the honor of being on the beautification committee with Andy, and that's where I learned of his work. And I'm hoping that you will find Andy's story as inspirational as I have, because I would love for us to volunteer as Livermore Indivisible to help Andy clean up a site in Livermore. So think about that as you're hearing about Andy's story. So please give a welcome hand to Andy.
Hi everybody, and Karen,
Oh, I just want to make sure the point it up so you can test.
Right.
So if you want to, you can use this.
Oh, I can just do that.
Okay, all right.
You have to have you speak loudly into the microphone once or twice. It has a noise gate.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay,
There we go.
there we go. Karen, thank you so much for that lovely introduction. And to everybody in this room right now, thank you so much for coming and listening to my presentation on my work in helping to combat illegal dumping and litter throughout the whole Bay Area, not just in Livermore. Karen already did a fantastic introduction about me, but I just want to add a little more to it. So I've lived in Livermore for 3 years now, actually 4 now, because I moved to Livermore, on June 15th, 2020. So it's been 4 years now. And as Karen mentioned, I work at the lab. And before I came to the Bay Area, I grew up in Colorado, outside of Denver, where I learned to appreciate kind of just the mountains and the beautiful kind of scenery that was around me. Got my bachelor's in Colorado, and then I got accepted for a master's program at Berkeley, and that's how I ended up in the Bay Area. And then after getting my master's, I got a job offer from the lab, so that's how I ended up in Livermore. So, everybody has a hobby they are passionate about, and that hobby for me is helping to beautify the Bay Area as much as I can. So the work I've done in cleaning up illegal dumping sites has spanned over 6 different counties in the Bay Area that you can see on the left-hand side. It's a map of all the locations I've cleaned up. And I primarily focus on illegal dumping sites, street litter. I don't really do weed abatement because I don't want to, damage sidewalks or infrastructure. I occasionally do graffiti abatement as well, but I've kind of learned that people are sensitive to having their graffiti tags be tampered with, so I've kind of stopped doing that. So I'm just gonna stick with illegal dumping for now. But as you can see, there's many different locations I've cleaned up, and one of the questions I get from people is, how do I find these places? So there's several strategies I employ in identifying these places. The first one is just, I love to drive around the Bay Area, especially when I just need some time by myself. I would drive around and, I would sometimes encounter some, illegal dumping on, along the side of freeways or, in like rural county roads. I would also find these illegal dumping sites by doing some research. So I would read news articles about neighborhoods struggling to contain these illegal dumping problems. I would also look at satellite imagery. So on Google Maps, Apple Maps, Stadia Maps, they offer an option for users to view the map in terms of a satellite imagery. And typically what I found is that even though the satellite imageries on those websites are 2 to 3 years out of date, I found that when I go to those places, there is in fact trash. So regardless of how long ago the data was, it's a chronic issue, So that's how I also find my illegal dumping sites. And lastly, I would also occasionally just view 311 requests. So a lot of municipalities, including Livermore, have a website where people can submit 311 requests, whether it's for illegal dumping, weed abatement, graffiti, etc. And some of that is publicly available to people to view. So that's another way I find out where the illegal dumping is happening. So I share all my work, to people, and how I would share that work is I would use my GoPro to film time lapses, kind of showing from beginning to end the cleanup process. And I would also take before and after pictures using my iPhone. That way, if people don't want to see the time lapse, they can just see the before and after picture. And I would post those either on Instagram or on a website called Reddit. And it's just been very cool to see people be so interested and inspired by the work that I do, just seeing the difference that 1 to 2 hours of effort can make in terms of cleaning up these illegal dumping sites. So not only do I just go around cleaning up illegal dumping sites on my own, I also join a few kind of different programs as well. So one of the programs that I've joined is Adopt a Highway, which is sponsored by Caltrans. And I've adopted 3 different sites, mostly around the Fremont, Newark area. And so if you guys happen to be driving on 88, southbound 880 in Fremont, you might see a sign that says Andy W, which is because they give everybody a free sign, And at first I wanted to put something else on the sign, but Caltrans has strict policy on what can and cannot be put on the sign. So I'm okay, fine, let's just put my name on it. Originally I wanted to say stop illegal dumping, but they don't allow that. Anyways, so I do Adopt the Highway. I also am part of a program called Adopt a Spot, which is sponsored by the City of Oakland and Oakland Public Works. And for that, I primarily focus on illegal dumping sites around the Coliseum area, which has been on the news a lot recently for good and bad reasons. And I would also try to help containerize some illegal dumping hotspots in East Oakland as well. So these are some pictures of the illegal dumping that I've encountered throughout my 2 years of doing it. You can see it is utterly disgusting. So these images were taken in Oakland, Sunnyvale, Vallejo, and it just, it's sad to see this. And at first, it will look like this looks impossible to clean up. It's just so much trash, and it was a lot of trash. And not only was there household items, but there was also syringes, human waste, bulky items, on nails, you know, on the wooden boards. I mean, it's also very dangerous as well. But if you put in the time and you put in the effort, you can make a difference. And this is a difference.
Wow.
It's a transformation. And this was all done by one guy, just with a trash picker, a shovel, and bags. No bulldozers, no heavy equipment, just with those 3 tools. And you can make a huge difference. And that's what I want to show people, is that this is an issue that can be solved within our means. It's not something that requires a lot of money to solve. It just requires dedication and effort. So you can see, and I want to emphasize that these places that I showed here, they are still clean to this day. I actually checked on them, some of them yesterday, and they are still clean, which goes to show, like, if the trash is there, it kind of acts as a magnet for more trash. Because when people see trash, they'll be like, oh, somebody threw trash there, so why can't I? So, you know, that's why, like, I really think that part of the process of mitigating illegal dumping is to take take the first steps, take the initiative, try to get rid of the source of the dumping before it gets out of control. Because the ones that you saw here, they got out of control. Took, like, in my estimate, like months to get it into the way it ended up as. You know, it's like an accumulation of trash over time. It's not like one day, boom, you know? So yeah, I love showing these pictures because it just goes to show, like, it's not impossible. People can make a difference if they put in the effort and time. So I also like to share my most difficult cleanup, and this one was in Vallejo, near Route 37 Wilson Avenue, right before the bridge. And you can see here, it's basically a landfill. It was disgusting. Like, the picture doesn't do justice to the fact that there was, like, at least, like, 2 feet of trash over there. It was like, it's literally a landfill. And this one took me 3 separate cleanups over a span of 1 month. And in total, I collected more than 100 bags, each bag being anywhere from 33 to 45 gallons. And I last visited yesterday, and it is still in incredible shape, all by myself. You know, it's a transformation. And, you know, it's so wonderful for me to go back and see, like, birds flying around now. You know, just seeing, like, flowers blooming as well. You know, nature's coming back. No more trash, no more of those Wendy's, you know, plastic cups there. Just pure nature. And it's such a shame to see so much trash there because it's right by the shoreline. And, you know, with rain and whatnot, that's where the trash is going to end up. So in a way, I'm trying to help prevent the trash from leaching into our beautiful San Pablo Bay. So, you know, one of the things people ask me is, okay, great. I got the trash. I got all the trash into the bags. I've sorted through all the bulky items. I've gotten rid of all the syringes. So what do I do now? So there's many different approaches I take, which I'll describe in subsequent slides on how I get rid of the bags and how I coordinate with cities and counties on disposing of the material. So, like I said, not much stuff that I use when it comes to cleaning up these illegal dumping sites. You know, I personally use trash tongs. Other people prefer trash grabbers. There's no right or wrong way. I also use clear bags with a very high thickness, and the reason why is because I do not want the bags to get ripped open. So in places like Oakland or Vallejo, there's like a huge population of unhoused people. And typically what they do is when they see a bag of trash, their natural instinct is to open it up and see what's inside because they're desperate for food or resources. So what I try to do is try to save them the hassle by using clear bags, showing them it's just trash. And then I would have a separate pile of items with like cans or whatever. So if they want to, take it so they can get some recycling money, so be it, Also, prevents them from getting hurt by the trash. I don't want them to get like diseases or anything. I don't want them to tamper with the bags for many different reasons. I would also use leather gloves. The main reason being, I want to protect myself from those syringes or sharp objects, because I do not want to get poked by it, because it will lead to diseases, possibly diseases and other nasty stuff. So, I take my safety very seriously. I also have like a sharps container. That's where I put all the syringes into. Once the sharps container is filled up, I would then deposit the container at like CVS, right, the hazardous waste facility. So I don't want to just throw it away, because you can't do that. It's illegal. Well, I think it's illegal, but it's just common sense that's not a good idea. I would use a rake, a broom, and a dustpan, and also like 55 in a 5-gallon bucket as well, to supplement the other tools that I have. So a lot of people ask me, like, how do I go about this? Why can't I just use a shovel, just bag it all up and be done with it? And I tell them, and I tell people when they say that's not a good idea, because I don't know what's in the trash. I have to go slowly at first. I want to make sure I know what I'm dealing with. I don't want to just go in and start scooping up trash if I don't even know what's in it. So that's why I go slowly at first with my trash tons. I carefully make sure, okay, there's no syringes here, there's no human waste here, there's no, feces or whatever. So I go slow. I account for all the hazardous waste. And then once I'm certain that there is no more hazardous waste and it's just like, household trash or whatever, then I dig out my rake or my shovel and start hammering at it pretty fast. So there's a process that I follow to ensure that I am safe when I do it, because if I endanger myself, then it really jeopardizes my efforts to continue to clean up the Bay Area. And then, as mentioned, I drop off the sharps at CVS, and then, when it comes to recyclables, if there's like any amount of liquid in it, I don't take it to a recycling center, because that's, it's just more work for me. So I only take recyclables if there's like nothing inside the container, whether it's glass or aluminum cans or plastic bottles. So, because I've encountered bottles filled with like urine and other stuff. I'm not going to open it up, just for 5 cents. But I want to emphasize that the reason I take the recyclables is because it helps me self-fund myself without having to ask for donations. I use that money to help me be able to purchase more plastic bags and more tools, because at the end of the day, the costs add up. But by doing this, it helps make the financial burden much less, and I frankly, don't like to ask for donations from people. People have always asked me, like, can I donate? And I always say no, because one, this is a hobby of mine. I feel bad if people fund my hobby. And number two, I really want this to be a sustainable kind of thing. I want to illustrate that this is something that can be sustained just from the trash pickups itself. So, people ask me why, and I kind of just leave it at that. It's just my personal philosophy. I just want to help out the community, and we're already paying so much in tax and other stuff, and I just feel bad for people to pitch in more money, want people to use that money to help raise their family or take care of themselves. So as mentioned, sometimes especially early on in my trash, my illegal dumping kind of campaign, I would sometimes have my bags get tampered with by the unhoused people, or by animals, or by other forces of nature. So that's why I use very thick bags, because it prevents it from being ripped apart easily, whether it's by the wind or whatever. Try to separate the recyclables from the waste so people don't start going into bag to find recyclables. If I separate it, then they know where the recyclables are at. I also tape signs onto the bags that basically say two things. That one, it's a community cleanup, and the reason why I do that is to let people know, like, this is not illegally dumped items. You do not need to report this to authorities. You know, they're already inundated with requests. You don't need to add any more pressure to them. So I try to let people know this is a community cleanup. The bags will be taken. Don't worry about it. And then the other sign that I post is basically it says illegal dumping is costly to taxpayers and the environment. And I also write the same thing in Spanish. And I have a QR code on the bottom. That's so that when people see that, they know that there's another option besides just going out and illegally dumping their trash. You know, I want to give people more resources. I don't encounter people frequently. I hope that people that pass by my bags will see that and be like, oh, I didn't know about that. I'll, you know, take advantage of that solution, and then they can pass that word on to other people, and then more people are aware of these free bulk pickups, and hopefully that'll reduce some of the illegal dumping caused by like households especially. I would place the bags at intersections or high visible areas so that it's easy for crews from the city to be able to pick up the bags. With some cities like Vallejo or Concord or Milpitas, I would just let their public works department know either by email or by filing a request and then following up with, you know, with them with email again. But with other like cities, like especially Oakland and Livermore, I am blessed to be able to have gotten to know the supervisors. They're really, really well, so I don't need to go through the 311 route. I can just directly call them up and say, hey, God, I cleaned this place up, could you get the bags? And they would be like, we're on, and within a day, they, you know, they take care of it. And I feel really blessed because normally it takes them like a week to address some of these issues, and you know, I'm blessed to be able to have this kind of access to their resources. So a lot of people ask me like, great, you show these pictures online, you share these time lapses, you tell people about the cleanups. What are you trying to achieve with it? And there's many different things I want to achieve through this. One, I want to spread awareness and educate people about just the economic and environmental costs associated with illegal dumping. Cities like Oakland spend like millions of dollars each year getting rid of the illegally dumped items. That money could be used to fund new open green spaces, could be used to fund playgrounds, provide housing for unhoused people. That's where money should be going to, not to into trying to solve people's, you know, misbehaviors. So, you know, I want to educate people on this issue. And at the same time, I try to be open-minded, and I try to understand why people are illegally dumping stuff in the first place. You know, whether it's because of economic reasons or they just simply don't know. And that's why by showing this, I can educate people saying like, your actions have consequences, and please take advantage of other solutions for, you know, getting rid of your trash. You don't need to dump it illegally. There are many different resources out there, and I'll be happy to provide those information to you. Number two, I want to inspire action. By showing people that this is a very bad issue, people will be inspired to take action. Even if they don't want to go out and join in the cleanups, hopefully they will, you know, put pressure on local governments to say, hey, we gotta do something about the environment because we shouldn't be having to live like this. We shouldn't have people living out, you know, near streets with illegal dumping problems because it will affect their health or whatever. You know, so I hope like when people see this stuff, it'll inspire them to, you know, lend a voice to the seriousness of this problem. I also hope to alleviate bottlenecks for 311 because in Oakland, like they are inundated with requests 24/7. And I hope like through my work, it helps streamline this so that they can focus on the other problems that need their attention. So, you know, helping to streamline it so that, you know, kill two birds with one stone kind of thing. And, you know, as mentioned, redirecting funds to other areas of concern, whether it's like housing for, you know, the unhoused people or whatever, you know, it's just better use of money. And then I want to show people like, do not give up. You know, trash will always come back. but you have to be persistent, because if you're not and you see trash come back and you're demotivated, then the problem will just happen again. So I want to show, like, don't give up. Things will get better. One of the places I cleaned up in Oakland, trash came back the next week, but I cleaned it up and I didn't have to go back till 2 weeks later. Re-cleaned it 2 weeks later and it was still good for a month. And then eventually it's a place I just don't have to go back now because I know it's good. And it was good because I checked up on it yesterday. So, because that'll get people more used to a clean environment, by showing this is what your environment should look like, and by getting people used to that, then they will be like, oh, there's some trash now, that's very atypical, something needs to be done about it. So trying to create a new kind of normal for residents that have had to deal with illegal dumping on a regular basis. So this is something I've kind of talked to Livermore about, but I really, am very eager to work with City of Livermore and other cities throughout the Bay Area to figure out ways to engage the community in local environmental stewardship, whether that's creating adopt a program, a local one, focusing on ways to target illegal dumping. One of the things that I've found is that places with signs that say no dumping, $1,000 fine, actually doesn't do its job. That's where you find the illegal dumping. People don't care about those signs. So one of the things that I've been trying out in Oakland is, what if we put signs that say no dumping, here's a QR code, take advantage of this free resource instead. And so far that's been having some success, at least in the places I've been going to. So I'm really interested to see how that plays out in other illegal dumping spots throughout the Bay Area. Because by giving people another choice, that'll make them more motivated to not do the wrong thing, if that makes any sense. You want to give people an alternative choice. By just telling them, oh, you can't do it, people will be like, so what? So I want to that's part of the education process. And I hope that through this mechanism of having better signage, it will cause the demand for illegal dumping haulers to also drop as well. So, create a win-win situation for everybody. And then lastly, I think, the country has been very divided on many issues, but I think that being able to live in a safe and clean environment is something everybody can agree on. So I really think that this is an issue that, by working with everybody working together, can encourage more civic pride and could, instill a sense of community and help, bridge this divisiveness that, we currently see in our country. So I think, this is an issue that can tie everybody together and we can all work together on a solution towards. And lastly, I go on social media where I share all my work. And one of the things that, I get a lot of messages saying hey, Andy, because of you, I've also started cleaning up. And I know some people have created their own organizations for cleaning up trash in certain parts of the Bay Area, and they would say, I would not have done it without you. And they, now, and they're going strong. They're making, some of the parks in the Bay Area so much cleaner, and it's just really good to hear that I've inspired people, and I hope to continue to inspire people, because that is one of the goals of my cleanups, is to get people to take action. And people would tell me this isn't my job, this isn't your responsibility, it's not going to do anything, it won't solve anything. Well, I hope someday I can take them around places in Oakland I've cleaned up and show them some of these organizations, and hopefully they take back what they say. So, thank you. And any questions, comments? Yeah, what's up?
You said you came to Livermore in 2018?
2020.
2020. When did you start wandering around and finding these places? Were you doing that before 2020?
So long story short, during COVID, you know, everybody was sheltered in place, and I just was looking at trying to find some good stuff to read about. And I watched a bunch of videos of people taking care of their community, whether it's by draining, by like unclogging storm drains, or clearing up a polluted river. And that got me thinking, man, I should do something as well. So after seeing those videos, I started thinking, oh, what could I do to help my community out? And one of the places I first saw that needed cleaning was Altamont Pass. I mean, that place is dirty, which is a shame. So I first started my operations in Altamont Pass. Things didn't go well there. Got threatened. And then, so because of safety reasons, I then moved my cleanups to Livermore, and then eventually to the rest of the Bay Area as well. So it's kind of a process. Yeah, what's up?
Pardon me, I live off South Basco Road, right
Yeah.
across from the lab, and there's this wonderful gentleman, an elderly gentleman.
Yes.
Even on hot days, have you seen him?
Yes.
He's picking up trash.
Oh yes, I've also gotten to know him as well. He's very fantastic. He told me he did this.
I just want to give him water or something. He's out
Oh,
there.
please do. He told me that he's been doing this for a long time, even before coming to Livermore. Like he was doing it in Chicago as well. Yeah, and I've offered to give him I have told him please do it safely, because I would see him just cross the street, and he won't wear a high vest, which is very concerning. I try my best to kind of tell him to do, because we can't do this stuff if some fatality or something bad happens. You got to do it safely. But I have gotten to know him, very, very great guy. And, I think his work is not unnoticed, especially by me.
I'm glad you talked to him.
Yeah, I've thanked him numerous times, and I really care about his safety as well.
Me too.
Yeah, what's up?
So, first of all, thank you for all the work you're doing. It's great. I just have a practical question. So, I have 2 daughters that live in Oakland, and we know trash is a huge problem.
Yeah.
And every time you walk under a freeway, and it's not unhoused people; it's just people dumping their
Yes.
couches and chair, and it just piles up and attracts the other garbage.
Yes.
What do you do when you're saying bulk items? I'm picturing a couch. So, what do you do in that case? You call 311, or you call your friends that work at 311?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And they come. Okay.
Yes,
Yeah,
because
they've had,
I don't have the
right.
capacity
Yeah, I know,
to
but I
lift
just,
those sheets of metal or sofa.
Right.
I'm just one guy.
and they have cars on their street and stuff, but 311 takes a long time.
Yeah, so that's why I'm really blessed.
So yeah, okay.
And I'll just say this to you guys. Please keep it secret. So
I won't tell anyone the name.
Recording this, so be careful.
Okay. I follow 311 cases closely, and I've seen cases where they're just ignored. Even after people put in the request 10, 20 times, it just goes unheeded. So this sounds bad, but I would then go and help clean up these places. So then 311 has to take it.
Yeah, because it's dependent on neighborhoods, I'm sure.
Yeah.
We're not gonna go there, but we'll go here. So,
Yeah.
okay.
So I take the initiative to just do it, just get it responded to,
Thank you.
and then Public Works responds the next day. I feel bad, but at the same time, I shouldn't feel bad for doing that. So,
Okay.
yeah, what's up?
Do you wear steel shin boots or shoes?
Yes, I wear work boots. I also wear rubber boots if I'm cleaning up in along the coastline. So footwear is very important as well. I will not wear my tennis shoes, because you do not know what you're stepping on. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
Some stuff that you're stepping on. There's also like I said, there's loose nails. I mean, you gotta be careful. Otherwise, you might, thank God my tetanus shot is up to date, but still very sketchy. Yeah, what's up?
I helped out with Dublin Creek cleanups and a few things, but do you know anything in Livermore, any organizations?
So that's a good question. So I unfortunately don't know of any organizations in Livermore, but as a committee member for Livermore Beautification Committee, I really want to help establish an adopt a program, whether it's adopt a creek, adopt a trail, adopt a road kind of thing. Other municipalities have done it with great success. why can't we, you know? So I don't know of any organizations as of now, but I'm hoping to get some programs rolling so people can sign up and join.
And maybe Livermore Indivisible would like to do that.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and you know, you don't have to be part of an organization to do this. You know, I just go out and clean. You know, you can definitely like, hey, start something new, and I'll give you guys a shout out.
Thanks, Andy. Thank you. Thanks very much. I feel like I want to get a trash picker right now after our meeting and go do something. It's very inspiring, Andy. We really appreciate you sharing all this with us. And I think one thing that sticks with me is your optimism and your sense of the possible. So you are a great citizen for making us feel that way. Our second presenter is from the national group Moms Demand Action, which is centered on the issue of gun violence prevention. And since I first met Janie about 7 months ago, I've learned so much about this issue and realized that a lot of good tailwinds are going towards helping to make our country a little bit safer. So without further ado, I want to ask everyone here today to please welcome Janie to talk with us about the issue of gun violence prevention. Thank you.
It's there. Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I want to thank you for inviting me here today to talk about the devastating toll of gun violence here in the United States. First of all, we do not have to live this way. There are so many solutions to this egregious problem, and I want to talk to you a little bit about them today. As Keith says, my name is Janie Dobbs. I am the local group lead for Livermore Valley Moms Demand Action. And there are several other people in the room that are also supporters of this group, if you want to raise your hand. I got involved with Moms Demand Action after the tragedy in Parkland, where a gunman murdered 17 people and wounded many others at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. That was my moment to get off the couch and become involved, and I have to be honest that when I saw them discussing arming teachers as a solution to this problem, that really catapulted me into action. We are our group is national. As Keith says, we are in every single state, including the District of Columbia. And within each state, we have several local groups. And California happens to be the largest group. We have dozens of groups all up and down California. So with that, I'm going to show you that today I am just going to talk a little bit about Moms Demand Action, who we are, what we do, and how we do it. I want to give an overview of the data of gun violence in the United States. You've probably heard some of it and much of it, but I think it's so important that people understand how pervasive this problem is. And I think this will also help you understand why we are choosing the certain solutions and the things that we are doing. Then I want to talk a little bit about the federal wins and efforts, and also at the state level, and also here at the local level. And then I'm going to give you some suggestions of how you could possibly support this movement. And then I'll open it up for questions and discussions. Can everybody hear me? Okay, good. It feels funny because every once in a while I get this like blowback thing. Okay, so we, as I said, are in every single city and doing the work to fight gun violence, and we are a nonpartisan group, and also grassroots, and our whole mission is public safety. And the daily toll of gun violence in America doesn't always make the headlines, but this violence is affecting everyone, everywhere. It strikes in big cities, it's striking in small towns, and also in our rural communities. I think it's important to know that Moms Demand Action is not anti-gun, but we are anti-gun violence. And we believe that you can both respect responsible gun ownership and enact gun safety measures that protect our communities. We were founded by Shannon Watts the day after Sandy Hook. She started a Facebook page with the intent to learn more about the issue and work with others to help make their communities safe. She stepped down in 2023, and then Angela Farrell Zabala stepped up as our executive director. She's a longtime supporter of Moms Demand Action, a grassroots organizer. She's done lots of different work over the past 2 decades with women's rights, immigration rights, LGBTQ rights, etc. So we are very, very fortunate to have her now as our executive director. So everything we do is based on evidence. We're very data driven. So one, we work to pass stronger gun laws. We seek to close the loopholes that are in existing laws, and we spend a whole lot of time fighting against the gun lobby that is trying to enact dangerous laws. We also spend a lot of time creating a culture of responsible gun ownership through some of our programs with Be Smart, which is secure storage of firearms, and also gun violence restraining orders. One of the major things we are also working on is electing gun sense candidates. We know we are not going to see the change we want and need until we get lawmakers in office that support our priorities. And we also work a lot with community violence interrupters. That is a key goal of ours as well. And many of you may wonder, like, how are Everytown for Gun Safety and Moms Demand Action connected? And so Everytown was created when Moms Demand Action and Mayors Against Illegal Guns merged. And basically, Everytown is kind of the umbrella organization. And then underneath that umbrella, we have Students Demand Action, we have Everytown Survivor Network, and Moms Demand Action, and Mayors Against Illegal Guns. So Everytown is the group, they compile the research, they look at the data, they compile the data, they have the legal resources, and they create policies, and then their goals are our goals, which are to turn this policy into laws, obtain funding, so we can create change, and then again, campaigning for gun sense candidates. So now I'm just going to spend a little bit of time about overview of gun violence, the data. So every day, more than 120 people in the United States are killed with guns, and more than 200 are shot and wounded. Over 44,000 people die by gun every single year. And this graphic also shows the cities with fewer and more gun deaths. And the data is very clear. If the communities with gun laws that are weaker and have more guns, they have more gun deaths. And, you know, you will often hear that, you know, guns aren't the problem, but, you know, if guns made us safer, we would be the safest country in the world, right? And sadly, that is not the case. As you can see at this, in this slide, U.S. gun homicide rate is 26 times that of other high-income countries. And a lot of people will say, well, oh, it's the mental health issue. Oh, these kids are watching video games that are so violent, or parents are just not doing a good job. Well, you know what? All across the world, they're playing the same video games. They do have mental health issues that they're also dealing with, and parents, you know, are making all kinds of different parenting choices as well. So what is the problem? It's access to guns, of course. So we know that access to a gun doubles the risk of death by homicide, and gun homicides are concentrated in cities. And one reason that this data is so important is to realize that half of all gun homicides took place in just 20 cities. This helps us a lot in knowing where to focus our resources. And sadly, these gun homicides are most prevalent in racially segregated neighborhoods with high rates of poverty. And it is about time that we step up and look at the problems. It feels like we used to just kind of accept it, like, oh, there's nothing we can do, nothing can change. And even Shannon Watts, when she started after Sandy Hook and learned more and more and more about gun violence, she realized that, oh wow, there are so many neighborhoods that have been, had this problem for so many years, and we've just turned our back on it. It's just, I don't know, this gets to me sometimes. We cannot talk about gun violence without bringing up suicide. Suicide is gun violence. Nearly 2/3 of gun deaths are suicides, and access to a gun will actually increase your risk of death by suicide 3 times. Approximately 90% of suicide attempts with a firearm result in death. And when people attempt suicide by other means, less than 5% of the time do those result in a death. And we know that 70% of the people who have attempted suicide and then decide that they, they're not successful and they get the help they need, 70% of the time they don't attempt suicide again. So gun ownership, or gun suicides are concentrated in states with high rates of gun ownership. The rate of firearm suicide among children and teens has increased 47% in the past decade. And white men represent 71% of firearm suicide victims here. Veteran suicide is the highest it's ever been in 20 years. From 2001 to 2020, nearly 87,000 veterans died by gun suicide. And this is 16 times more the number of people who died while they were in service during that same time. Just staggering. An average of 18 veterans die by suicide in the United States each day, 13 of them by firearm. And veterans are 3 times more likely to die by gun suicide than non-veterans. And I know we've heard a lot about this, and I'm sure you're aware that it is now the leading cause of death of our children. This is completely unacceptable, and we must do more about this. Almost 5 million children live in a home where the gun is unlocked and loaded. And trust me, the majority of these kids know exactly where those guns are. And every year, more than 4,000 children and teens are shot and killed. In 2023, there were at least 427 unintentional shootings by children. And this is one of the reasons the secure storage campaign, Be Smart, is so important. In 2023, there were at least 158 incidents of gunfire on school grounds. We know that 80% of the perpetrators of school shootings got their gun from home or the home of a relative. Nearly 2,600 children and teens die by gun homicide every year, and Black children and teens are 17 times more likely to die by gun homicide than white children and teens of the same age. So that statistic alone really points to the fact that gun violence disproportionately impacts communities of color. Black Americans are 12 times more likely than white people to die by gun homicide. And this isn't because Americans are more prone to gun violence than any others. This has been created over the years with our policies in the United States that have ignored these communities of color and all of the inequities that have happened for years and years. Black Americans are almost 3 times more likely to be shot and killed by police than white Americans. Black Americans make up 13% of the population, but 56% of firearm homicides. And Black American male is 16 times more likely to die from gun homicide than a white male. So this obviously points to why our work in city gun violence is just so important. Gun violence is a women's issue. I'm not sure people know that there's actually in many states, a person can still own a gun even after being convicted of domestic violent crime. Every month, an average of 70 women are shot and killed by an intimate partner, and over 4.5 million women reported being threatened with a gun by an intimate partner at one time or another. Access to a gun in a domestic violence situation makes it 5 times more likely that a woman will be killed, and women in the United States are 28 times more likely to die by firearm homicide than women in other high-income countries. And I think it's also important to point out that it's not just the intimate partner that is affected by this. This is affecting their children, it's affecting their families, it's affecting the people they work with, and it's also affecting the police officers who respond to these acts. So yeah, it's a lot. And I know mass shootings haunt our collective conscience here in the United States. It seems like every time we hear about another shooting, we are filled with grief, anger, and fear, because it feels like we can't go anywhere and know 100% that we are going to be safe. These shootings are happening in schools, when you go grocery shopping, when you go to a movie theater. we just are at a point where we do not feel safe. And you can see by this graphic that mass shootings in the United States are on the rise. There have already been over 249 mass shootings in this year. And as horrific as mass shootings are, and we hear about mass shootings more than anything else, mass shootings only account for 1% of all the gun deaths in the United States. So with that, all of that data, I want to talk about what are some of our federal priorities, and then we'll talk about the wins. One thing we really need to do is hold the gun industry accountable. There has not been reform for gun dealers in decades, and in fact, only 16 states require gun dealers to have a license. And they are overseen by the ATF, and yet they lack the resources and the authority to do what they need to do. The gun dealers, many of them are trafficking guns into states that have stronger gun laws. They've also, the gun industry has an incredible immunity that no other industry has. In 2005, the Congress passed something called the Protection of, it's PLACA, Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act. And what this did is it gave them pretty much free rein that they can do whatever they want without being sued. We know that tobacco companies and other opioid producers, they were eventually held accountable for all the thousands of deaths of people. But the gun industry does not have that over them. And so knowing that they have this immunity, they have made their guns more lethal. You can buy do-it-yourself kits to make your own guns at home. And a good example of this is Glock Industries. Many of you have probably heard of the Glock pistols. They're one of the most popular pistols used. There is a device that you can add to the back of this gun called an auto sear or Glock switch, and it virtually turns this gun into a machine gun, which can fire up to 1,200 rounds per minute. They've known about this all along, and not any other pistol the same thing cannot happen to any other pistol. And a lot of these guns are ending up in Chicago, and we always hear, gun laws don't work, look at Chicago. Well, guess what? All their guns are being funneled into maybe not all of them, but many are being funneled into Chicago. So right now the city of Chicago, along with every town, is working to try and make Glock responsible and are trying to bring a lawsuit. And I think I've already talked about our federal priorities of being community-based intervention. Also, illegal guns. We have a dangerous loophole in our federal laws, and that many people are obtaining guns because we need background checks on all gun sales. Right now, you can purchase a gun online or maybe at a gun show or other places through rogue gun dealers. And don't forget that only 16 states require gun dealers to have a license. Disarming hate. In some states, it's not illegal if you have been convicted of a hate crime to own a gun. And we know that hate crime is on the rise, affecting our communities of color. It's affecting the LGBTQ communities, and also religious minorities. So this obviously needs to change as well. And again, electing gun sense candidates. As I said, unless we make sure our lawmakers know this is a priority for us, there are not going to be any changes. We've been trying to get some of these things passed in a long time. This does not mean that we haven't had some successes, but there's a lot of work needs to be done. So if you visit this website, gunsensevoter.org, and I know all of you are very active in elections and campaigning, I do encourage you to look up your candidate and see if they are a gun sense candidate. It could be possible that they're still in the process of getting the distinction. Every town sends out questionnaires about solutions and the issues of gun violence, and if a candidate does show that they are concerned about gun safety and are aligned with many of our priorities, they will get this distinction. And now I want to talk about some of our successes. And the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act was passed in June of 2022. First time in 28 years that we've had any legislation pass on gun safety. So I'm going to read, just to go really quickly, about some of the things that the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act does. It gives states $750 million over 5 years to implement or improve a range of crisis intervention programs, like implementing red flag laws, expanding access to mental health services and school resources, and public education on secure firearms storage. It also gives grants of up to $250 million for funding community intervention programs that we know are really successful. Right in Oakland, since 2012, the homicide rate and non-fatal shootings dropped 50%, and a lot of this is about the programs and the efforts that are being made to intervene and interrupt gun violence. Another thing, it closed the dating loophole in domestic violence restraining orders. It strengthens requirements for federally licensed firearm dealers. It also enhanced the process that people under the age of 21 have to go through before they purchase a gun, and it imposes penalties for straw purchases of firearms. And a straw purchase is when a person knows they cannot purchase a gun because they have committed a crime, they won't pass the background check. They go to somebody else, and that person purchases the gun for them and then gives it to them. There will now be greater penalties for that. And so some of our other federal policies, of course, I know you've heard that thank goodness that the Supreme Court did reverse the Fifth Circuit's court decision in the Rahimi case. And yes, in fact, a domestic abuser, it is not against the Second Amendment right to take away your gun if you are under a domestic violence order. We also passed a record-breaking 130 gun safety policies representing many of our key legislative priorities. We blocked 95% of the gun lobby's dangerous agenda, and we successfully supported states as they passed stronger gun safety laws. And also we helped to flip the State House in Virginia and even the County Sheriff's Department in Washington, and also now in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, their state Supreme Courts do have a gun sense majority. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about our California efforts and wins. And as you see as I go through these 3 slides, that we've had dozens of legislative victories. I am not going to talk about each one of them, I promise. But I do think it's really important that all of us in this room know that our legislators at state level are really working hard to keep our community safe. So I'm just going to talk about a couple of them. We have AB 452 that now requires schools to notify parents about our California secure storage laws. A few other wins include cracking down on the unlicensed manufacturing of firearms, protecting the marketing of guns to kids, and prohibiting the sale of unserialized parts used to build a ghost gun, and strengthening California's concealed carry laws, which were put in jeopardy after the Supreme Court's Bruin decision. Shell casings to guns will require microstamping, which will help police officers in solving crimes, and it created a permanent funding source for California violence intervention and prevention programs. And now we are still at it, working on several bills for 2024. And the current bills we're working on to get passed are, they address hate crimes and armed extremism. They update the gun violence restraining order procedures. They're ensuring that our shooter drills minimize trauma to students and staff. And we're also strengthening firearm relinquishing processes, gun dealers, to make inspection reports available to the public, and ensuring crime guns are fully destroyed. So that is some of the work we're up to. And at the local level, we have, like I said, we do have a California secure storage law. However, there were some loopholes in this ordinance, so we have worked to get city secure storage ordinances, and Livermore, Dublin, and Pleasanton have passed them, and we actually statewide have over 50 cities who have now done this. We have increased our visibility in more cities. We're now doing work in San Leandro, Castro Valley, and Fremont. In fact, just a couple of weeks ago, when we were getting a proclamation from the city council in Fremont, the police chief chased us down and wants us to come and help do some safety work in Fremont. We've worked with Pleasanton school districts for secure storage awareness. Now the schools do promote this on their website and in their newsletters. We've developed relationships with Veterans Affairs and Alameda County Health Departments, and we now have over 400 supporters of Moms Demand Action just here in our group. And what are we doing now? I would say that our top priority right now is elections. We are working on passing a secure storage ordinance in Alameda County through the Board of Supervisors there. We continue our work with Youth Alive, a community partner. They just do amazing, awesome work. We are very proud to support any way we can. We are continuing our advocacy for secure storage of firearms through our Be Smart campaigns. We give presentations, and you can find us at farmers markets and other community events. And we are now part of a Keep Hope Alive Collaborative for Suicide Prevention. This includes many, many local organizations that are working to prevent suicides. With that, I'm going to keep going because I think I'm running a little bit out of time. So there is a handout for this, but I am going to go as quickly as I can, but you may not be able to take all the actions you want to from this, but I think Lori is going to come around with a flyer. So the first thing you can do if you are not already a supporter of Moms Demand Action, I encourage you to text READY to 64433. We are 10 million strong, and we want to, we're larger than the NRA, and we want to be grow even more. And just being a supporter would be a great help. You can help us elect gun sense candidates. Just ask candidates when you're speaking to them, what are their gun safety policies? Let them know that gun safety is one of your priority issues as well, and find out if they are gun sense candidates. You could join what we call Gun Sense Action Network. This is where we drive calls to states and into key legislators' offices when we are either A, promoting a bill or fighting against a very dangerous bill. And we do this in states other than California. As I said, we have many, we have the strongest gun laws in the nation, but we are working in these other states as well. And it's super easy to make these calls. They're automated, you have a script and everything. You could consider making a donation. I don't know what happened to the picture there, but especially for our C4 legislative and elections work, you could download the Demand Action app and keep apprised of all of the actions and events and activities that are local, and you'll even hear about things that are happening nationally that are on Zoom. And lastly, think of us. Whenever you are putting on an event, we would love to join you. So don't forget about us. We look forward to collaborating with you in the future. And these are 3 websites that are really important. You may want to take a picture of them while they're still up, because I don't think I put them on the flyer. The everystat.org is an amazing resource. Every town has put together gun statistics of every single state, and you can compare states of gun safety, gun laws, and the cost of gun violence in those states. Everytown.org, that gives you lots of information about the issues and solutions, and momsdemandaction.org, of course, tells a lot about our work. And now it's on the flyer, so I'll go through really quickly, I promise. But we really need to let the far-right Supreme Court and our extreme lawmakers know that, yes, we need a ban on bump stocks. They are so dangerous, allowing rifles to fire up to 800 rounds per minute, and they need to hear from us. Maybe nothing's going to happen until we get that gun sense majority in place, but they need to continue to hear from us. We can't give up. We need to ban assault weapons. Sign the petition, please, on your sheet. We also need to pass the Federal Firearm Licensing Act. This will help to stop gun trafficking. This was part of the Safer Communities Act. The ATF has written up a policy, and the GOP right now is really balking at it. So we want to make sure that they know that the majority of Americans do support it. And lastly, to sign the petition to stop the export of the gun violence crisis. It used to be that the Department of State oversaw the exportation of our guns, and now, during the Trump administration, it went through to the Commerce Department. So that they're skyrocketing. We have so many guns falling into the hands of drug cartels and terrorists and other criminals. So please sign that petition as well. And I'm done. Finally, Keith, sorry.
Oh, very good.
Would you mind if I'd put your photographs on our website so that people can find them? Just,
Oh,
would that be okay?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we have like 15 to 25 minutes for discussion. That was an important
Okay.
part of our meetings.
Right. So
Please speak up.
that's why I tried to go quickly. So, any questions or comments or, you know, ideas? Yes, Helen.
I just want to, everything they say, I am so impressed with what you guys do. I do as much as I can with them, but
You do a
don't
lot.
have as much time, but it's amazing what they've done. And the youth alive people in Oakland are just amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very impressed too with their work, and thank you. And actually, Helen, and I know that all of you and the work you're doing, without even meaning to, are supporting gun violence prevention as well. So I appreciate that very much. Yes.
How do you keep from being discouraged, especially with the current Supreme Court? The ruling on bump stocks was just absolutely the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my whole life.
How do I guess, because we feel like we don't have any other choice. I mean, after I pulled myself off the floor and, you know, from that decision, it's appalling. It is not taking community safety as priority. It's gun sales. But we're going to change that. We won't give up. We can't give up. Yes.
You said about the Glock.
Glock Industries, yeah.
And that's not a bump stock because a bump stock is for rifle, but.
Right, it's another device that goes to the back of the pistol, and they call it an auto sear or a Glock switch, and it just holds the barrel open so that it can continually fire. It works like a bump stock, but.
And it probably wouldn't even, it would have to have a special indication if a law were passed. Would it have to be named?
Well, we feel that the Glock needs to change the way their pistols are designed so that an auto sear wouldn't allow that to happen. So that is what needs to happen as far as that, is that they just need to change the way the pistol is designed. So, yes? Yeah.
It seems, you know, that an underlayment of a lot of what you shared with us on the data is that making and selling guns is tremendously profitable. So this issue of being the only industry which is shielded from any consequence, what kind of efforts are you guys making in that area? And is there any hope that that law could be challenged in the future?
Which law?
The one that gives immunity to
the
Remington
Plaka?
and Colt and all these.
I mean, I know every town is working all of the time. They have a team of lawyers that are doing what they can. And to be quite honest, we can keep pushing and making small victories, but as I say, unless we get lawmakers, we need a president, we need Congress, we need people that care about community safety over the profits of the gun lobby, and the gun lobby is profiting so much, and we are suffering the consequences. And I think we also really need to bring up that there is more than the human, emotional, horrible, traumatic cost to gun violence. It is costing taxpayers billions of dollars in lost revenue. So I think we really need to continue with that message as well.
So did you say that Students Demand Action is affiliated with every town and then
Yes.
Moms Demand Action?
Uh-huh.
Do you know if they have resources on their website to help students create club? Like, I'm a high school teacher and I'm wondering if there's information there to help students create a club.
Yes, in fact, do you have the flyer right there where it says to text different words to 64433? If you text the word student to 64433, you will get connected with Students Demand Action. And I have to tell you, Students Demand Action are doing amazing work across the United States, registering voters, showing up in Congress and everywhere for stronger gun laws. So we're very inspired by their work. Okay, so, yes. Oh,
Hi,
friend.
I'm Pamela Price.
Yes, I know.
I'm the Alameda County District Attorney. Hello.
Did you want to come up here?
Sure. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Thank you. I'm proud to say that I'm a gun sense candidate and that I support Moms Demand Action, and I'm so grateful for the work that you all have done. Yes, in October of last year, I convened a roundtable discussion with all of the law enforcement agencies in Alameda County, and we had an amazing presentation from one of your national spokespersons that came. And you know, I think it's important what the message that they're giving. In Alameda County since 2018, we've had an increase in the number of licensed gun dealers, and in particular in Livermore, we went from 11 to 14. And it is true that where we have more guns in a community, we have more deaths by gun. And it is also true, we speak about suicide, we speak about children, we speak about women, the mass shootings, and one of the points that I know you would have made is that in 67% of all the mass shootings, they have found that the shooter was either involved in domestic violence or had already killed a family member. And we just recently convened a second roundtable with law enforcement, and we had the Alameda County Department of Public Health come in. And they talked about the economic cost to all of us as we suffer both deaths as well as people being injured and wounded by guns in this community. So it is truly an important issue that is impacting us so much across the board, and something that certainly my office and all of our partners are doing. We're working with the Alameda County Department of Public Health, and recently gun violence was declared to be, again, a public health emergency, right? And so I just wanted to come out and support you and listen to the conversation and let you all know that my people are here. We have our brochure. We're doing our part to raise awareness about this as it's another pandemic. In early June, early this month, I was in New York. I attended Prosecutors Against Gun Violence, and that's a national convening of prosecutors where we talked about how it's affecting communities across the country. And we are not alone, unfortunately. It is a national epidemic, pandemic of gun violence that just skyrocketed since the pandemic, and we have yet to get back where we need to be. It's going down, but it's still, as you point out, our country is so unique in the way that that we are, number one, we're the only country in the world that has this kind of gun violence pandemic, that people are dying, so many people are dying every day. This is not a partisan issue, it's not a Republican or a Democratic issue, it is an issue of public safety, and it's something that affects all of us. So I commend you. I'm so grateful that Livermore Indivisible hosted this. We need to have these conversations more and more around this county, so thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, District Attorney Price, for being here. And, oh, yes, I have to announce our upcoming events. So next month in July, we know some people will be traveling, but we're still going to have a meeting. It'll be a postcarding bee here at the library in this room. So the last postcarding bee we had was very successful. A lot of old friendships were renewed and new friendships were made. And I have it on good authority that there's going to be some free books and free jigsaw puzzles handed out. So I hope you'll join us on the 21st of July here, and we'll send out an invitation by email and post on our website. In August, we're going to have the opportunity for you to meet in person Adam Gray. He's a candidate for the House of Representatives in the Central Valley, and he's doing a lot to basically bridge the divide that's come up a few times in our conversation today between people in our communities. And I think you'll find he is also another inspirational speaker, the way that Andy and Janie were too. So that's kind of what's on the future. And I just also want to ask if Helen wants to just give a postcarding update, that we have postcards available for those of you who want to write. And we know that they make a difference, as much as 20% in some of the recent elections, better voter turnout. So I hope you'll join us in that effort too.
So right now, and a lot of you already know this, we're writing to Black women in Florida. Almost 1 million women, only because reproductive rights are, and school issues and all sorts of things that pertain to women are on the ballot. I have postcards, so if anyone wants some, you know where to get me. And again, we'll be in the library with them. And thanks for everyone who has written tons of postcards. I'll have the numbers out very soon.
And if you didn't sign up when you came in, we'd love to get your email address to keep you posted with our future events and initiatives. And I think otherwise it's a wrap for today. So stay